Hey everybody, it's your girl Bunny. To all of my returning subscribers, hey, how you doing? And for those of you who are new to the channel, welcome. Kick your feet up, subscribe to this family-friendly channel, and don't forget to click the notification bell so you don't miss any posts. Also follow me on Instagram at the same profile name so you don't miss the sneak peeks of what's coming up next. In this video, it's part 2, LisaRaye McCoy, Queen of De-Nial. I give a full episode recap with photos offset to the side, and then I give my review at the end. No need to dig around. I have all of the minute marks in the comments. It's all coming up next. Iyanla begins with her narration. When it comes to personal growth and healing, there's a distinction between being finished and being complete. When you are finished, you've reached the end of your capacity to absorb things in a productive way. LisaRaye McCoy was finished for a time, but now she's returned to complete. Lisa explains that I've been praying about this for a long time, and now I'm ready. Iyanla continues, when you are complete, you have turned every stone, finished every task, recovered everything available. You've done all you can do, and you can walk away knowing it's done. When I last saw LisaRaye McCoy, she was hoping to mend the broken relationships with her mother and her daughter Kai. The three women were living together in LisaRaye's home, and the relationships were in crisis. But now LisaRaye has returned on her own, and I'm anxious to hear if anything has changed. They greet one another and express how they're excited to be in each other's presence. Lisa expresses, the last time I was here, I didn't feel like I received enough. I felt guilt that keeps me weighed down, and I'm at a point in my life where I don't understand what is all of this I'm feeling, and I need to get rid of this and heal. Iyanla says, I'm glad you came back for those reasons and more. At the time you were here, you were finished for that time, for what we were doing. Why didn't Kai come? Because I understand that you wanted her to come. And Lisa says that, I reached out to my daughter to find out why, and she had the response of, if I'm not receiving any funds for what we're doing, then why am I coming? My time is too important. That's the way that she expressed it. And my mom is still at home, so. Iyanla says, maybe we did this backwards. We started with you and your mom and everyone trying to understand one another and why your relationships are in crisis, but maybe we should have started with you. Lisa says, my mother shared some things with me where I was just like, wow, I had no clue. So that last visit was just a lot. Iyanla agrees and says, I'm just grateful that she was able to see from our last session that you were the quote-unquote the other woman competing with you for your father's attention. So I'm happy that she was able to see that. Lisa says, I see that as a kid, I attached myself with whomever gave me my way, which was my father. And when he was taken from me, it was just all of a sudden. Iyanla says, yes, this is good information. That's something that we need because it's obvious that you need to shed this anger and incompletion. And if you don't do that, if you don't shed that, what do you think will happen? Lisa says, we know I'll probably explode and it will leave all of this negative effects of my family and the legacy. They arrive at the destination, and as they're getting out, they compliment one another and share some good laughs. And Lisa says, you look good. I may need to take that jacket from you. And Iyanla's just like, no, I don't think so. So they have a moment just to have a little laughter before they enter the mansion. Iyanla wants to show Lisa a visual representation that there is a great deal of work, internal work, if she is to become the true queen that she is destined to be. And the work of a queen is not easy. There's your throne and your crown, but to get there, you have to sit in these valleys. I think you've been through some of these. We've all been through many of them. But through some of these valleys, we've missed the lesson. Before you leave here, I want you to be up there. But the first step is the valley of understanding. Get underneath the truth and stand in it for what it is. It's going to take courage, which Maya Angelou explains, that courage is knowing what needs to be done before being forced to do it. Sometimes we don't do that because we go into resistance and denial. If you don't, you'll end up in the valley of OPP, other people's problems and other people's purpose. And that's why it's important that you have your own purpose and intent, so you can reach that level of success, not out there, but in here, emphasizing within herself. Now it's time to sit in the valley. LisaRaye, the last time you were here, I was ready to crown you. But that didn't happen. Do you know why? It was the depth and level of resistance that I experienced from you. You know what I see here? A wall. You know what I feel from you? Nothing. I know it's in there, but you are rehearsed in your responses. Lisa explains that what someone may see of her and hear of her is just her trying to search how she feels. And Iyanla says, well, let's discuss how your speaking betrays you. You say, I have to think about what I'm feeling, and that's a problem. As long as you are processing in your head and not in your body, you're never gonna get out that feeling. So I'm glad to hear you say that you want to shed certain feelings. Let's talk about this recent public breakdown with your sister, De-Nial. And from last time, I know you were in breakdown with your mother and your daughter. And Lisa says, before I even came here last time, I was walking on eggshells because I didn't want to go off on nobody before I even got here, because I'm thinking maybe Iyanla will help me learn how to deal with it. I just, if everybody pisses me off, that's a whole house that's going to be rocked. And the relationships now that I have are in breakdown with you. I mean, what does that mean? The breakdown, Iyanla explains, is not with them, it's in you. I'm saying to myself, okay, her daughter is who she was. Your sister is who you are. And your mother is who you're becoming. It's an internal battle, but it's uphill. Everyone wants to be at the mountaintop, but the healing is not up there. It's in the valleys. I want to take you there because if not, it's going to get bigger, uglier, and more painful. Now, I sent you an assignment. It's a rating scale. The principles of some of the things we'll work with. Now, there's a rating scale of 1 to 5. 1 meaning I don't have any of this, and 5 meaning I embody this fully. Okay? Where are you in patience? Lisa says 4. And y'all was like, 4? Really? This is me most of the time, but I'm striving to do better. You think you're patient? Lisa says, yeah. Iyanla says, okay, moving on. Courage, 4. Wisdom, 4. And Iyanla's like, 4, really? Lisa's like, yeah, 4, wisdom. And Iyanla says, okay, we'll move on. Honesty, 4. Iyanla, non-judgment and forgiveness, 4. Self-mastery. Lisa says, I'm pretty disciplined, so a 4. Iyanla says, yep, we got some work to do. The work that we have for you is heart work. The real throne that we have as women is in the heart, the valley of understanding. Tell me more first about your first love story. And who was the first one to break your heart? Lisa reminisces and says, ooh, probably my father. I mean, he would look at me and cherish me like he was my number one fan and I was worth everything. And Iyanla says, if you don't mind me asking, how did your father end up in a wheelchair? Lisa says, that happened from a robbery and I was about 8 months old. So Iyanla says, oh, so you know him from your whole life as being in a wheelchair. She's like, yeah, I remember that for the longest time as a kid, I didn't think that he had to be in a wheelchair. I was like, why are you in a wheelchair? Why don't you just get up and walk? So just one day as I'm pushing him, as out of curiosity, I push him out of the chair and he fell and he couldn't get up. And it was just like, for me, like, wow, like, we really have to take care of him. And Iyanla says, as a kid, I could only imagine seeing something like that. And I bet that was traumatizing. This is just like, yeah, it was my first time really feeling like, wow, he can't take care of himself the way he wants to. I mean, we have to take care of him. And Iyanla says, so how did he break your heart? And she remembers that my dad had this girlfriend, and the young lady that murdered him had a daughter. And she went to the same school that I graduated from. And I remember thinking, how can she go to the same school that I go to? That's not your daughter. And Iyanla wants her to clarify. So at the time, he and your mom were still together, right? Lisa says, yeah, they were still together. So Lisa, what upset you is that he brought her daughter into your space, your territory, but not that your father had a girlfriend. Lisa says, well, I mean, when I was a kid, you see that your parents are arguing about it, but he's still at home, so we're good and we're still a family. And Iyanla wants to express that, what do you understand about seeing something that is out of order and excusing it, accommodating it, giving it permission, tolerating it? What do you know about that? Lisa's like, I do that a lot with Kai. I mean, she becomes forgetful. And Iyanla says, well, what do you mean by that? Lisa says, well, I mean, she'll say, well, I didn't mean to, I just forgot. And Iyanla says, close your eyes for me. When Kai says she forgets, what are you acting like you don't know? And Lisa's like, well, I mean, I do know that she's forgetful. And Iyanla's like, look, when Kai says she forgets, what are you acting like you don't know? And admitting it, Lisa says, what I know is that I think she's full of BS. And Iyanla says, this is what I'm asking you. And you give yourself a for honesty. She tells you about the stuff she forgets because it's things that she doesn't want to do. Kai is a representation of who you were. As a young girl, idolizing her father, excusing, tolerating, accommodating, dishonoring, disrespecting her mother, and you made excuses for it. And you do that now. Lisa, are you disappointed in your daughter? Yes. Has she broken your heart? Yes. Has she shown up less than what you want her to be? Yes. Just like your father, baby. And Lisa says, well, as a young child, if I'm standing by thinking it's okay, I'm thinking that's normal. Iyanla says, no, you still have a feeling about it. Lisa says, well, I can't go back and to the 6th grade and tell you how I felt. And Iyanla's like, oh, yes, you can. You absolutely can. Lisa says, well, I don't know how to do that. And Iyanla says, you can do it. It is the look at your daughter and getting in touch with those feelings. You're in breakdown with her because she stirs up those past feelings you had at that time. We can get into your feelings. Are you ready to do that? And Lisa agrees. And Iyanla says, okay, take off your shoes. Iyanla narrates, in this exercise, getting in touch with her heart is nearly impossible when she rationalizes her feelings in her head. I feel this exercise will open her heart so she can get in touch with the little girl whose heart was broken so many years ago. She has Lisa lie down on the ground. Lisa, I just want you to lie down, close your eyes, and just relax. I get a sense that early on in your life, in your innocence, it was exploited, violated. Your vulnerability. In the valley of non-existence, we have to be able to be vulnerable. Relax And I want LisaRaye to be 5. Who is LisaRaye? LisaRaye was, and Lisa says Lisa was 4 and in love with her father. And Iyanla says, when did LisaRaye get frightened? She says there was a fire, a smoky fire at our apartments, and my mother wasn't there. She was next door, and I tried to get out the door, but I couldn't. So I ran back to my room. And when I heard my mother come, she had left some beans on the stove. And Iyanla says, so when LisaRaye gets frightened, there's nobody there. When does Lisa get lonely? And she explains, I had to share my mama with other family. And Iyanla says, how did that make you feel? And Lisa starts to release some tears and says, angry. And Iyanla says, yes, good. And Lisa continues, it made me feel helpless, frightened. And Iyanla says that she was going to lose her daddy, right? And Lisa begins to whimper in tears. Iyanla explains that there's different levels of break. And what you're feeling is old stuff that needs to come up. So now, tell me about your husband. He reminds me of my father. My ex-husband was definitely a playboy. Women here, women there. Iyanla says, breathe. Breathe. So why are you upset with your sister? My upsetness is because my feelings were hurt. When she came out, she had a new relationship and I hadn't heard anything about it. Then, when they tried to surprise me on my show, I was shocked. That she had even agreed to say happy birthday and surprise me, and my co-hosts, they didn't know. They were egging it on, trying to surprise me, but I felt, y'all didn't know anything. Iyanla says, I asked you what caused the breakdown between you and your sister, and you said my feelings were hurt. Lisa says, yeah, that time, that's what I was feeling, and I was speaking anger. They sit up so they can have a discussion face to face. And Iyanla says, I wonder how much of the relationship and the situations with your dad goes on in the relationships with other people. How about because of his behavior, everything to you feels like betrayal? I think you see and hear betrayal in certain areas where it doesn't exist, because betrayal will make you angry at first, right? Your mouth is saying that hurt my feelings, but that was betrayal. That was a betrayal response. Now tell me what you hear me saying. Lisa says, nothing. And Iyanla's like, well, what happened? She explains, I blanked out. Iyanla says, and where else and how else do you do that in your day-to-day life? Because that is what people get. If all your close relationships got issues, issue, boo, the universe is trying to tell you something, and you have to have courage to see it. But you can see it, hear other people's problems. What people's problems are present in your life right now? Your mom feels that once you quote unquote made it or went Hollywood, you weren't there for her. Your daughter feels that she really needed you and you weren't there. And Lisa's like, well, I've never heard her say that. And Iyanla explains that's what she shared the last time we talked. And there's a playback clip of her daughter Kai explaining that when she was a kid, she was sent off to a disciplinary school and she didn't understand what she did that was so bad to be sent away. And also how Kai never told her mom that the decision hurt her. So it's quite possible that you didn't hear it, Lisa, but that's what she said and that's what she shared. Lisa says, well, so I'm supposed to break my neck to do whatever anybody wants and to be there whenever they want. I mean, Lisa, are you aware of what you just did? And Lisa says, well, I'm asking you a question. Iyanla says, no, you came to see me. I'm asking the question. Are you aware of what you just did? I'm seeing the same message. I tell you all of that. And your response is, so you telling me I need to blah, blah, blah. You take the pieces out you don't want to deal with, which is resistance. And I'm very clear. You ain't present anywhere in your life. And that's what people feel. More importantly, you're not present for you. The lights are on and nobody's home. You know what, Iyanla? That's interesting that you say that, because when I blanked out, I was like, why aren't you present? What is that? I mean, I thought, I'm tired of trying to do it for everybody. I'm trying to do it for me now. I mean, that's what was going through my head. Iyanla takes her back to the staircase, displaying the visual representation of the valleys and the symbolic throne and crown. And she says to Lisa, your uphill climb, you have to put it together for yourself. So your homework tonight is going to be between reading all of these values, and what I want to ask you is to tell me where you're out of order, and where in each of these valleys, which ones keep you from getting to that throne. It's day 2 at the mansion, and Iyanla bids her happy good morning, and I want to know, how was Lisa's night? And Lisa says it was a full night. I mean, analyzing all the words, trying to understand everything. And Iyanla says, your way of being is when something comes, right, to you, you got to hurry up and process everything. We got to get you out of your head and into your heart. If I sit this here, this crown and everything, it sits here as queen of the castle. It's so important that you know your place and your role. Lisa says, it sent me back, to just realize that the common denominator in all the relationships is me. So, what is it that I have to do? And I just want to know what that is. It just seems like it's a lot. And Iyanla says, let me tell you why. It's important to know who you are. Let's take this to another level. A queen at all time represents. When you open your mouth, you represent me. You represent Michelle Obama. You represent my daughter. You do that not just for Kai, but for everyone. The universe is calling you to do a different way of being. In order to do that, you must learn these lessons. That's what these valleys are. Experience. We're women. We all go through it. Lisa says, well, it's time. I'm ready to go to another level in my life. Iyanla says, what you just said, what you're getting ready to do is courage. And it takes courage to understand. Give me your book so we can review some things. Let me read something to you. And here's the piece I want you to get. Iyanla reads, the girl child receives her inner experience of womanhood by the way of initiation from her mother. Her mother teaches this by the way she treats her own womanhood. What did your mother demonstrate to you about your own womanhood? Well, Iyanla, unfortunately, it was the opposite of value. Iyanla says, okay, so that's what she showed you. So, no, the question is, how do you, right, devalue your womanhood or devalue other women? How do you victimize or feel like the victim? Do you set up competition or maybe feel like you're being competed with? Maybe Kai, I don't know. You have to look at those things. And Lisa says, wow, I've been like that my entire life. Iyanla says, you can do things the same way you've always done them. You just have to do it in a different way. That is all the universe is saying. There's just lessons that maybe you're resisting. Lisa says, I read that last night, being a people pleaser. I think that's me. And Iyanla says, it's going to take a shift in your mind and a level of being vulnerable and courage to say that doesn't work for me anymore without being attached to how they respond. And that's where you're attached. I feel your heart today. And that's where you want to be as a woman. I don't care what's coming out of your mouth. I'm concerned what's in your heart. Are you open to some more feedback? Because I think we're on a roll. Lisa's just like, yeah. She was like, I want to show you some more things. I just want to show you exactly how this happens in your life. I want you to see it. And Iyanla wants her to see some unseen footage of her last visit. She wants Lisa to understand the patterns of her behavior. In the clip, Lisa expresses that she wants everyone to go from her home. They have a conversation, and Iyanla suggests that maybe let Kai figure it out for herself. You can say, okay, this is your move out date with no further extensions. You're not evicting her. You're saying to her, I want my house back. And Iyanla says, okay, so you tell me what you saw there. You asked for something, and what did you ask for? Lisa says, well, I asked for my house back. And Iyanla says, okay, you said that you wanted everybody out. So watch this. And the video continues. Iyanla says, okay, so you can say I'm giving you from now until December 15th to no longer be a resident in my house. Lisa says, right. And I'm in between that, she can wash the dishes. And Iyanla says, no. So what I'm saying is the dishes can wait. They're going to be there because you done put up with them for this long. What we're saying is that you don't have to worry about them dishes after December 15th, basically. So Iyanla continues. Okay, so in the video, you asked for your house back. And in the same situation, you were resisting the ultimate goal, which is basically them being out of the house. Demanding what you want, but also saying has to look and do exactly this way. That process doesn't happen. We know what we know, and it's due to falling and scraping our knees, right? As moms, we want to prevent the scrapes on the knees with our children. But you'll never know what she can't stand and what she can't do on her own if you don't allow her to go through that process. Just be there for her when she needs you. Now, she's in trouble, but are you there? Or are you just telling her what she needs to do? And Lisa says, I know exactly what you mean. And Iyanla's like, good. So I don't have to explain that part. You saved me some time. The video continues. When Kai enters the room, Iyanla says that your mother and I have been talking, and now she wants to make an announcement. And Lisa says, well, I love you, right? And Kai's response is like, And Iyanla stops the video and she says, do you notice what you said? You said, well, I love you, right? It's kind of like a demand. And Lisa's like, yeah, I see that. Instead of me just saying, I should have just said, I love you. And Iyanla's like, exactly. They continue playing the video. And as she's about to explain what she wants and the demands of moving out, Lisa begins to backpedal and says, well, I was talking about you moving out, but I think we said a year. And she stops the video. And immediately Lisa recognizes the backpedaling and not standing firm in her word. And Iyanla says, it's interesting because we have to look at these patterns. But what you really must take from this is that you told me what you wanted. And you can't even stand by what you want, and that's important because we just discussed it. Iyanla wants to move on to another exercise, but she says, I don't want to overwhelm you. Are you okay? Do you feel comfortable with moving on? She says, yes. She says, yeah, I could move on. She wants her to recognize patterns and the thought processes that must change. Iyanla says, are you aware, saying yes or no with the cards, that your father and husband cheated? Lisa holds up the yes card. Question 2. Are you aware of the feelings attached to that? Lisa holds up the yes card. Question 3. Are you aware of the pattern that you were spoiled and your daughter was spoiled? Holding back tears, Lisa holds up the yes card. Question 4. Are you aware that your mom was very controlling over you as a child and that you were controlling with Kai as a child? She holds up the yes card again. Question 5. Are you aware that growing up, your parents had the tendency to walk around like nothing was wrong? And are you aware of how you're doing that in your life? Lisa holds up the yes card to both parts of the question. Lisa, tell me what you know now that you didn't know when you first got here. I know now the understanding that I have a lot to work on. I have a lot ahead of me, things to change, the way I've been doing things. Iyanla says, right, that's who you were and not who you're becoming. And Lisa's like, yeah, and it's not in alignment with, and unison, they both point to success and purpose and intent. And Iyanla's like, yes, you got it. Give me your crown, the pillow, everything. Put your hands out. I'm going to give you this. And I'm not going to crown you because only you can do that for yourself. The crown is one thing. The throne is something else. The throne is simply your heart. You know when it's right. I have one more thing for you, and I'm going to see if it's ready. Are you good? And Lisa says, yeah, I'm great. And they lock hands. LisaRaye, I can't do it for you, but I can surely walk with you. And I promise you, I will walk with you. There's a narration from Iyanla. Miss LisaRaye has secured some very valuable jewels in her crown. She has navigated some deep valleys, and that has opened her heart. Her last step is an important one that, like every woman, has to take. She must choose to take. Your understanding the valley and knowing where they're taking you. She tells Lisa to close her eyes and takes her to another location. And Iyanla says, now open your eyes. And there is a wonderful visual of a throne. Iyanla says the throne represents your heart, your authentic way of being in this world, standing in the truth and its fullness of it and who you are. The jewels in your crown are tight. You are ruling them from your heart. It doesn't mean you won't ever go through the valleys again. It just means that next time you can navigate through those valleys without breaking your nails. And they sure share a nice little laugh and tee-hee-hee about that one. So LisaRaye, you can sit there now if you're ready. That's a choice you have to make. Lisa says, well, I'm so ready. I mean, I know now those valleys, there's no way around them. I mean, I'll repeat them. They'll teach me. I mean, those are my lessons. I have to have faith that this is where I'm headed and this is who I am becoming. I'm being this queen. Iyanla allows her to sit and says, this is your heart. Your mantle is symbolized by this cloth. Lisa says, that empty feeling I had, it's a different feeling. I mean, I feel this this readiness, and yet I feel this calmness, you know? And Iyanla says, I love it now. When you speak your feelings, you close your eyes. I love that. That means you're seeking internally and not seeking externally, and not seeking that external validation. And Lisa said, I so needed this though. I mean, I didn't know where or how or even how to ask, how to get started. And I feel like I'm in the right place. I mean, I'll forever be different. And Iyanla says, next time I see you on social media behaving inappropriately, you know I'm calling you out immediately. If you think I'm playing, if you don't think I will, ask Evelyn Lozado, okay? LisaRaye says, ooh, yes, I know you will. They end their session with an endearing hug, and we hear the narration from Iyanla. There is so much value in the valley. Those valleys are life experiences that we go through and grow through. That is what's needed to sit firmly in our throne. Now listen, it ain't easy being a queen. If you don't learn your lessons, they will come and knock you off your throne. But if you live in your heart and sit firmly, there's nothing that will tilt your crown. It's review time, you guys, and I hope that you all enjoyed the full episode recap. This part 2 with LisaRaye McCoy, I feel, was endearing. I honestly feel that she's 100% being genuine and that she's ready. For those of you that watched the part 1, there was a little resistance between everybody, LisaRaye's mom and her daughter. But I honestly feel that LisaRaye is really, really ready this time, as she stated. As Iyanla said, it was very obvious that now she's tapping into her emotions. There was a different feel. There wasn't this abrasive, pushy, resisting that we saw from part 1. In part 1, everybody was in denial and kind of made it seem like everything was a-okay. And now that we understand that symbolism of the valleys, we can see that the daughter and the mother had the resistance. Even though they understood the process of what they were going through, viewers could sense that maybe things aren't really sorted out yet, because Iyanla gives everybody the tools and understanding that they need to move on, not necessarily putting everything together and making it perfect at the end. She provides the tools and what everybody needs, right? So with this episode of part 2, it was unfortunate that her daughter didn't show up. And what was interesting is that the daughter says, well, I'm not being paid for this, so why am I showing up? It's just kind of ironic that I've heard LisaRaye say certain things in the past. Well, if I'm not getting paid for it, if it's not making me money, why do it? So it's obvious that she heard her mom say that, or even her grandmother. I love the fact that Iyanla has visual representation and symbolisms with everything of learning, because just sitting down with somebody and then just talking your ear off, it really it's kind of hard to apply. So when you have the visual representation, it really helps. I've said that with all of the Iyanla recaps and reviews, that even though this episode or certain things may not apply to your own personal life, I see these episodes as classes, because it's always good to learn and to see certain things, because we might see certain patterns and things in other people or behaviors in ourselves that we never noticed. So it's always beautiful to see. For those of you who are unaware, the Iyanla Fix My Life series is coming to an end. These are part of the collective final 6 episodes that will be of the series. Now, there are only 5 more episodes left, and the remaining episodes are majority part 2s of what happened earlier in the season. Also, Iyanla has expressed that she's stopping the series because she feels that sometimes cinematically and while recording, it's not really catching the true essence of the process, because you have to consider a lot of things with filming: lighting, sound, timing, scheduling, all of those things. But if people could come to her individually in private, more things could get done. And she felt that social media had a big impact to individuals' growth. So she decided that the series should come to an end, and there's enough series and seasons for people to refer to, and her books for people to study. So I could really understand where she's coming from. Because if somebody's coming to you personally and privately, a lot more may get done. And like Iyanla said, sometimes when people appear on the show, they're thinking in the moment and how people will perceive them instead of being honest and genuine from the beginning. So that can pile up with the resistance. Let me know what you thought about this episode. Feel free to let me know what you thought in the comments. Please like this video and share this family-friendly channel with family, friends, and everyone. Feel secure in knowing that everything you share on this channel is family-friendly and there's not anything to be worried about. Until next time, take care of yourself and each other. Make sure to check out the comments of the links of all of the other cool shows that are happening at this time. The dating reality series, Ready to Love, Delilah, Bell Collective, and so much more. And we have more shows that are coming at the end of April. For example, The Handmaid's Tale, the Hulu original series. In the meantime, take care of yourself and each other. Until next time, bye.